Coming up today, after years of negotiations, the United States, Japan and 10 Pacific Rim nations sign a massive but controversial trade deal known as the Trans-Pacific Partnership. A US research institute says there's no evidence to support claims North Korea is gearing up to launch a long-range rocket later this week. Plus, NATO demands Russia end airstrikes on the Syrian opposition and focus its efforts on Islamic State militants. It also warns Moscow to stay out of Turkey's airspace. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Tuesday, October 6th here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story this morning, Pacific trade negotiators have reached a historic agreement on the world's largest free trade pact that will remove trade barriers for 12 countries. In a press conference in Atlanta on Monday, the US Trade Representative Michael Froman said that the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, negotiations had ended successfully after ironing out tough issues such as monopoly rights for new biotech drugs. The deal, which will reduce or eliminate tariffs on almost 18,000 categories ranging from automobiles to food, still has to be ratified by lawmakers in each member country. The US-led talks that kicked off in 2010 encompass countries including Canada, Japan and Australia, accounting for roughly 40% of the global economy. Now, Korea's trade ministry welcomed the agreement and said it will strive to join the mega trade bloc in the near future. A US research institute is seeking to quash speculation North Korea is about to launch a rocket, saying there's no evidence whatsoever to support the claims. North Korea monitoring website 38 North disclosed recent satellite imagery of the Sohae launch facility on Monday and explained that it wasn't showing anywhere near the level of preparation required for an imminent launch. Senior editor of the website, Joel Witt, assessed that it was almost impossible for a launch to take place around the 70th anniversary of the country's ruling Workers' Party on October 10th. However, the expert did note that North Korea is in the process of upgrading its facilities at the rocket test site, possibly to test larger engines that could be used in larger rockets. Meanwhile, in an attempt to justify the legitimacy of their tests, North Korea's central news agency broadcast a special program on Monday that stressed the regime's rocket launches are merely aimed at putting satellites into orbit. North Korea on Monday released a South Korean student who had been held in the north since April. The 21-year-old had been held for unapproved travel into North Korea. Song Ji-sun reports.
After a near 6 months detention in North Korea, South Korean student Ju Won-moon was repatriated at the border village of Panmunjom on Monday. Ju, a New York University student with permanent U.S. residency, was detained after crossing to North Korea from China in April. While the 21-year-old was fully aware of his illegal act, he said he thought it would lead to improved inter-Korean relations, but wasn't sure what kind of event could follow as a result. Seoul's intel agency and prosecutors will investigate whether Ju violates South Korea's national security laws, as he made positive comments regarding the North Korean regime in an interview with CNN a month after his detention in Pyongyang. The North State-run Korea Central News Agency said Ju was released on humanitarian grounds. Experts say Pyongyang's release of the student could have been made in acknowledgement of the international community, as a sign that the communist state is also aware of the human rights. While welcoming the move, Seoul also put the pressure on Pyongyang to release 3 other South Korean nationals who've been accused as spies and sentenced to hard labor in the north. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Now, the nominee to become the next chairman of South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff was in the hot seat on Monday for his confirmation hearing at the National Assembly. Lawmakers quizzed Lee Soon-jin about his plans for containing North Korea. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
Army General Lee Sun-jin was quizzed on Monday over different aspects of the military and on ways to deal with North Korea. When asked about plans for the possible deployment of a U.S. anti-ballistic missile system called Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, Lee responded saying there is no plan to adopt the THAAD system at this time. Nonetheless, he indicated the deployment could benefit the South Korean military. General Lee added that while North Korea is believed to have miniaturized its nuclear warheads to a considerable extent, there was no certainty if the weapons were deployed for combat use. Lee says Korea is currently developing its own missile defense system, the Korea Air and Missile Defense System, to counter North Korea's missile threats. The system is expected to be deployed in the early 2020s. The confirmation hearing also touched on Korea's fighter jet program and the timing of the transfer of wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul. Lee was also asked how to counter threats posed by North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs, its cyber warfare activities, and the regime's submarine power. In a statement before the hearing, he said that as North Korea could launch a provocation sometime this month or next, South Korea has upped its preparedness. He is expected to replace Choi Yoon-hee as JCS chairman. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye was focused on two major issues on Monday during the weekly meeting with her top aides, namely unification and financial reform. Lee Soo-eun has the details.
In a meeting with her senior secretaries, President Park emphasized peaceful reunification as a fundamental key to denuclearizing North Korea. Concerns of another provocation by the North have grown in recent weeks, as the regime has hinted at the possibility it could carry out a rocket launch to mark an upcoming key political anniversary. Reiterating the message she delivered to the UN General Assembly late last month, the president pointed out although reunification efforts must be led by both Koreas, support and cooperation from the international community are also vital. In line with her policy, the president vowed boosted diplomatic efforts for reunification. To further stabilize the country, President Park said financial sector reform was also needed. Citing a World Economic Forum report, she said the sector was dragging down the nation's overall competitiveness.
금융 부문의 개혁은 더 이상 지체할 수 없는 과제입니다. 우리 경제의 혈맥인 금융이 본연의 기능을 회복하도록 낡고 보신적인 제도와 관행은 과감하게 타파하고 시스템 전반에 경쟁과 혁신을 불어 넣어야 합니다.
She called for measures to deregulate the industry, such as lowering barriers for internet-based banks to enter the banking sector and diversifying banking options for consumers. The president, meanwhile, steered clear of the Saenuri party's dispute on a new candidate nomination system ahead of next year's general elections, which has created a division between her loyalists and the ruling party's chairman, Kim Moo-sung. Lee Soo-eun, Arirang News.
Now, students in Korea are learning more about the plight of Korean women forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military through demonstration classes and specially written textbooks. Now, this is all part of the Korean government's countermeasures against Japan's continued distortion of its wartime history. Lee Ji-won has the details.
This fifth grade class is having a special day today.
일본군이 침략 전쟁 때 일본군과 일본군 정부에 의해서 전쟁터에 강제로 끌려가서 지속적으로 성폭력을 당한 여성을 말합니다.
With Japan's continuous distortion of history, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family joined with the Ministry of Education to teach students the correct history.
This is a special demonstration class to help elementary, middle and high school students fully understand Japan's military sex slavery during World War II and how they can take part in helping the victims.
The class informs students about who the sexual slaves are, the enslavement they had to endure, and their current situation in fighting the Japanese government for compensation and a sincere apology. Through today's lesson and worksheet, students seem to have experienced something deep and emotional.
I was able to learn more about the Japanese wartime sexual slaves, and I am so sad and angry the women had to go through such pain.
I am glad to have had this lesson and would like to do what I can for the victims to get a proper apology and compensation.
The demonstration classes began in September around 18 different elementary, middle, and high schools around the country. This month, at least one grade level from each of the country's 17 education offices will carry on this demonstration class. The presentations used for teaching have also been uploaded to the e-history website. Hopefully, through this opportunity, the plan on expanding such classes on Japan's wartime sexual slavery will proceed starting next year. 이지원, Arirang News.
Now, NATO is demanding Russia stop its airstrikes on Syrian rebels and instead focus its efforts on fighting Islamic State. In a statement on Monday, the alliance also pressed Moscow to stop its irresponsible and dangerous violation of Turkish airspace during strikes. Now, Turkish F-16 fighter jets were scrambled on Saturday after a Russian plane entered Turkey's airspace. NATO said Russia should take all necessary measures to ensure that such violations do not take place in the future. NATO's statement followed an emergency meeting in Brussels on the situation. Russia's defense ministry says its warplanes flew 15 missions over Syria on Monday, destroying Islamic State tanks and artillery positions in Homs province. Former chairman of the US Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, says there should be no rush to raise interest rates. Speaking on US network CNBC on Monday, Bernanke said inflation is still lower than the Fed's 2% target, and full employment is only starting to emerge. He said also that there was too much reliance on the Fed and called on other policymakers in the US government to step up to the plate. Bernanke's comments come as the debate turns to whether the Fed will raise rates from near zero at its next meeting at the end of this month. However, most analysts believe the Fed will wait until early next year before making its move. Pioneers in parasite treatment have been awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. Their work is improving the lives of people all over the world, including some of the poorest regions.
The Nobel Assembly at the Karolinska Institute has today awarded the 2015 Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine, with one half jointly to William C. Campbell and Satoshi Omura for their discoveries concerning a novel therapy against infections caused by roundworm parasites.
Campbell and Omura discovered a drug that has helped fight river blindness, which also showed effectiveness against other parasitic diseases. The other half of the prize was awarded to UU2 for discoveries concerning a novel therapy against malaria. The three will split the cash prize for this year's award in medicine, nearly $1 million. Back here in Korea, an exciting book-related event kicked off on Monday in Gyeonggi-do province on the outskirts of Seoul. It's called the Paju Book Story Festival, and it's the largest book festival in Asia. Kim Min-ji takes us there.
Listening to hands-on experience about life on South Pole. This researcher from the Korea Polar Research Institute shares his works and describes the nature of the mystical lands, giving people a new insight.
I really enjoyed my time. It's great that we can take part in lectures by experts that we would never be able to approach in our daily life.
This is one of the main events that's part of the 2015 Paju Book-Story Festival, with a new topic every day. The annual event, into its 5th year now, aims to foster a literary environment for people of all ages under the theme of a playground for reading people.
We aim to find Asia's value through books. The festival provides a platform for publicists, experts, and readers to come together to develop Asia's value as well as exchange ideas.
To mark the 70th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japan's colonial rule, there's also an exhibition that offers a peek into the development of Korea's publication industry since. Display are works of famous authors, both local and foreign, which accompanied Korea's economic progress. People can take time to find out about that history, as well as share their opinions through conferences and open discussions. The opening ceremony included various musical performances and a welcome from the mayor of Paju, wishing for a successful event. Over 100 events, including a parade and an opportunity to make your own books, are part of the week-long festival, which will be held within Paju Book City. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News, Paju.
Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a great day, and thank you as always for tuning in. Goodbye.